Hi, my name is Noah, and I'm here with Dr. Munsell and Dr. Camacho. And today we're going to be talking about heat-related safety tips and heat-related stories, heat incidents. So I have a couple of stories. So you have...
I was just saying before we hit record, maybe before we hit record, I think I went out of the three of us with the heat, holding heat. Because
Yeah,
I went to vet school.
but isn't it like a dry heat?
Yeah, but...
So, it's a humid
That is
heat
true,
down
that is
here.
true. When the dogs are here in humidity,
You
it is
can't
a lot hotter.
sweat here, There, at least, you can sweat and cool off.
That's true. That is true. Mm-hmm.
You can't sweat when you're underwater in a swamp.
But is this?
Yeah, it's not as bad, I guess, compared to Houston. But San Antonio is the same. It's like kind of more of a dry heat than...
No, San Antonio's hot.
Yeah, but it's dry.
It's not as dry as Arizona, though.
It's not, but it's like Houston, Dallas, and then San Antonio is more dry.
Mm-hmm. Where you grew up, was it hot?
Very hot.
Very hot?
South Texas.
Well...
And was it humid hot?
Humid hot.
So maybe he wins out of the three of us.
But,
Worse than Phoenix?
so, let me just jump in, heat is kind of a relative idea. If you're from Alaska, we're from South, but what would you tell our clients is, you would say, when it gets to this temperature, you need to start worrying, or be careful, take measures. How hot does it have to be
Well, I think...
before we start kind of watching things really close?
Yeah, well, I think it starts pretty, depending on the dog, it can start like, it obviously depends on the dog quite a bit.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
How low, but I mean with like some dog, like if a dog already has difficulty breathing and heat regulating more than other breeds, I mean even if like low 70s, I think in some like short-nosed breeds. I mean you're the doctor, so I mean I've seen Frenchies and Bulldogs that start having difficulty breathing in like fairly. Obviously in Texas we could have like, it could be 70, 75 and you have no cloud cover and it's all your direct heat.
I would say like if your dog is already a brachycephalic dog, which means a special-faced dog, at that point you always have to be extra precautious.
Bulldog, Boston, Pug,
Boxer,
Frenchies, Boxers.
Mm-hmm.
Boxers.
That's my first. When we went to the United States, my first dog died of heat stroke. Oh, that's a good story.
Ah,
I mean,
that's a terrible story.
sorry.
That's a terrible tragedy.
Yeah, sorry, wait. Let me reframe that. My boxer, though, he died of
my.
heat stroke. Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I forgot about that, yeah. And so people forget that a boxer is a brachycephalic dog because it has a bit of a longer snout than like a Frenchie or a Bulldog, but those dogs are already predisposed to like heat, being really sensitive to heat or even humidity, just because they're not really great at thermoregulating as compared to like other dogs. And so I would say like, if it's already warm enough where, you can start wearing shorts and you have a brachycephalic dog, you should be a lot more careful and just keep him indoors for the most of the day.
Yeah, like one of the things I was going to share is one dog that was at a vaccine clinic that was, I think it was like maybe 80, it was not hot, it was like maybe 80 degrees, 85 degrees. It wasn't like 90, 100 degrees. And it was just a gentleman who was like walking his dog kind of not in the shade, but like it was even on the grass. Yeah, the dog was on the grass and he was just kind of like walking it around, and then it started like having difficulty and it ended up going into, I don't know if it actually had like a stroke, but it had like, its temperature got up to like 106, 107, and it like was laying down. They had to send him to an emergency clinic.
And then on top of that, you have to add like the stress of whenever they're at a vaccine clinic or a veterinary clinic, where they're already going to be. We have dogs that are not brachycephalic dogs that already run a bit of a temperature when they're in the clinic because they're stressed and they're just overexcited or anxious. And so adding that on top of heat is just going to push them over the edge in general. And so that's I think just brachycephalic dogs in general is a big thing. If you have a brachycephalic dog, if they're going to our mobile clinic specifically, keep them in the car as long as possible in the shortest amount, and keep them outside for the least amount of possible time. So once they're done with their vaccines, you can go ahead and put them in the car and, with cool AC.
With certain at-risk breeds, we will actually try to expedite how long that they have to be out of the air conditioning. Of course, we're dealing with a lot of other people and their dogs, and we want to be courteous to everybody. But we will expedite a brachycephalic breed. And you were saying one of the reasons for this is they don't. You had to use a great big word, thermoregulate, but
word.
they some might say they evaporate heat through their nasal passages and on their tongue. And these dogs, they can't move air. I don't know if it's too convoluted or something, but they can't move air. And if you can't move air, you can't evaporate,
Breathe.
and you can't breathe.
Yeah.
And you can't breathe.
And you can breathe, yeah.
Unfortunately, some of these dogs are going to be slightly overweight too. So that's another
That's another
pre-existing condition.
That is another. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because there are some dogs that want to be typical, are not brachycephalic dogs, meaning they have long snouts and normal snouts, and they're still overheating because they're getting a little too many snacks.
Yep.
They're a little fluffy. Love. They're full of love.
Yeah, true. And then also, like, obviously, there's a lot of, any dog is susceptible to, like, the ground being too hot and burning.
That's another good point, yeah. That's another point, too. I think their paw pads are just like our hands, right? So, like, if you touch the ground and it's too hot for your hand to be on there, it's definitely probably too hot for your pet's paw. And are we putting the carpets now? Or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so, like, for example, like, at the mobile clinics, we put carpet on there so it's not as hot to be on like an asphalt of a parking lot. But usually that's the rule of thumb. If you can't put your hand on the asphalt or sidewalk, and it's too hot for you, it's definitely too hot for your pet to be on.
What I try to teach our teams is if I can't hold my hand on it for 10 seconds, it's too hot for these dogs, and those carpets, we'll start putting those down. We'll start reminding clients. Sometimes clients they're taking it all in, and we're busy, and dogs are barking, and they forget to watch. And their dog's over here doing the cha-cha and the salsa, dancing.
You see them just
because it is hot.
It's hot. It gets hot.
And just run them over to grass, or again, keeping them in the car in the air conditioning as long as possible. That's one of the best things we do. That our system. And just for all of our clients who may be watching this, we're going to have you, just kind of get started and then go back to your car. And some clients will worry that they might get out of order or something. Our software keeps clients in order, and we make that a big point so that you don't have to worry about that. We will keep you in order. Anyway.
Yeah, that makes like a huge difference as well, because like I remember like when we were still on paper, and like you would get to a location and it would be the second location and there would already be like a long line of people.
That's true.
And that just made it really rough when it was really hot. But it's way easier with the paperless system.
I would agree.
Because you can literally just wait in your car until you get a text, and so you're spending way less time outside in the heat.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think specifically because I too remember the paper days. I would agree. Like with the system, the new system, there's less people waiting outside with their dogs outside for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have like water bowls and stuff. That's another thing is like if you're going outside for like a long walk, like you should have. Especially if you have a brachycephalic dog, and especially if it's already above 70 degrees, you should have like one of those water bowls. They make the collapsible ones that like it's like a saucer shaped, and then you can expand it with a water bottle, because then you can you can give them some water wherever they're at. And that helps too. And we have like the little water bottles and little styrofoam bowls that we have on site, but it's like even better if you have your own that you can bring.
What was going to be your story though? Mine was that my dog died.
Yeah. Well, mine is less depressing than that. Though, well, one of the ones I remember is that it actually happened at the Irving Clinic, and I think it was like lunchtime or something, or we were like about to be closed or something, and a guy like runs in and he's got like a dog in his hand, and he's like, "Can you help my dog? It's like he's overheating." You know, and basically it turns out what happened is it was a Boston Terrier, and it was in he was like a trucker, I think, and then somehow like something had happened. Like it wasn't like he had left the dog in there. I think there was some expectation of somebody else maybe being involved who didn't. Anyways, the dog ended up being in the car for like a while. I don't know how long it was, like half an hour or an hour or something like that, and in the heat, and it was just like stroking out. It was like overheating, and we took a temperature and it was like 108 degrees. And we got it, we got it in, and then put, used a bunch of bottled water. We had ice packs, all kinds of stuff. Cooled off the feet, cooled off the ears, and everything like that. And I think we gave it some oxygen. And I can't remember everything the doctors did, but that one ended up being okay.
It lived?
Yeah, it lived. Which they were saying. I remember the doctors were like, "This is pretty hot."
For reference, a normal temperature for a dog is like 100, 101, 100.2.5. Anything above 100.25 is a hypothermic, or we consider a fever, or in this case, that's
like 108 is like, that's I think as high as I've ever seen.
You're cooking the dog.
Yeah,
the dog is cooking.
Yeah. But that one made it. So that was the one I remember the most, I think, of in terms of heat stroke. Of course, we've had other dogs that have had to like go to the emergency clinic, because usually it's a brachycephalic dog, and they're just kind of like out there, and maybe they're even getting walked, so they're doing some activity, and they just have they can't regulate the temperature.
I would also say, just like what they say with people, when dogs are going out for walks before the sun comes up, and when the sun's going down as well, when it's like not in the middle of the day when it's hot. Even if they have booties on, even if you have water, I think it's just important to just mitigate the risk by going on walks before sunrise, or a little bit about 9 a.m. I think that's when it rises at this point in the summer, and then a little bit after sunset.
Do you remember with your dog if it was like, was it on a walk or something, or was it just in the backyard? Or
it's gonna be bad. Okay, this is before I was a vet. Okay, and we didn't know anything. But in Puerto Rico, our dogs were just backyard dogs. Okay, so we moved to North Carolina, and they just lived in the backyard, and so he was in the backyard. Bummer. But we know better now, so we do better.
Well, that's what I was going to say is that, it's funny, this is, I was at a, where was I? Oh, yeah, I was like getting a haircut, like a hair at a barbershop, and they told me, "Oh, sorry, there's going to be a little bit of a wait." One of our, hairstylists had to leave because her dog died. And I was like, that sucks. And so I asked like what kind of dog it was, and they said it was a French bulldog. And they just found it outside in the backyard, and I bet you anything it's just like overheated and stroked out, because, and that isn't a lot of people like they leave their dogs out in the backyard when they go, they go to work or something like that, and that might be fine for some breeds like during most of the year, but like if you have a brachycephalic dog and it's like summertime, then they need access to water, they need access to shade. Ideally you'd want them to be inside during the day, because it's just, even with shade and things like that, they just, seems like there's I mean, you're a doctor, so but it seems like there's a spectrum of like, some are even, more susceptible, like some French bulldogs I've seen some French bulldogs that are, more debilitating than others.
Huskies, or dogs are not necessarily meant for Texas heat, are not ideal to be having outside as well. That's not what they were bred to be at, or the environment they were bred to be at, and so that's not a brachycephalic dog. That's a normal snout, but it has a lot of hair as well.
Yeah, if you have a husky, just
Okay, that brings me to the question that our clients want to know is, since my dog can't talk. No. It kind of reminds me, my wife asked me, have you seen the dog bowl? And I said, I didn't even know he could. But,
Okay.
so, since they can't talk, how would you say our client could recognize that my dog's having some problems? What would it look like? And especially if you catch it early.
Well, like we were mentioning, just the breed, just being already overly cautious with that, but also like if they're panting and they're not able to come back down to resting, basically panting, you see that they're not able to cool off and be able to be at a normal respiratory rate. That's concerning for sure. Abdominal effort, if they're just breathing and panting, but you're seeing that basically abdomen or the muscles of the abdomen are kind of collapsing, that's really concerning as well.
They're pushing
They're
too
pushing
hard.
too hard to cool off, essentially, and that's with any breed. That's concerning for sure. And then the other one that owners can do is look at gum color as well. I think gum color can tell you a lot. Pale, that's really concerning as well, but also blue or purple, that also means we're not oxygenating well, we're not getting enough oxygen into our body, especially with those brachycephalic dogs as well. So I think pale and sorry, not pale, the color of the mucus of the gums, and then if the texture, if it's moist or if it's tacky. So if it's like sticky, or meaning that it's not moist, meaning that it's pretty dry, that means they're pretty dehydrated as well.
So gum color, pale or bluish, that's probably more, they're quite a bit down the road.
Yeah.
Would you say that something that you might catch early on is that their gums might even be a little hyper red?
Yeah.
So
for
it
sure.
might start there, and then when it goes to pale,
You need to go to
they
emergency.
probably need to get to emergency.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good
So I would
point.
say mucous membranes or gums, and then as well as like the texture
Right.
of the gums themselves as well can tell you the hydration status. And a simple trick you can do also with the skin as well. Now it's a little bit tricky with like a bulldog since they have so much skin, but if you pull the skin and it stays pretty tented up, that's also pretty that they're dehydrated. They're not getting enough water, and that doesn't necessarily mean like you need to go emergency room, but that can tell you before anything comes up that they are not getting enough water, and they're not hydrated enough as well.
So kind of a normal dog's mouth is slimy.
Very slimy.
They can spit.
Yeah.
If your dog can't spit, we got a problem.
There's no saliva. There's no
Yeah,
saliva.
if you feel
It's dry.
they can't spit,
And then with the, obviously, if you're on pavement, that then they're gonna, you can feel it with your hand, and if it's too hot for your hand, if you can't hold it there for 10 seconds, and then also obviously if they're like lifting up their paws and then putting it down, lifting up the other one, that means it's too hot.
Also, I think a good point. I mean, I don't know how vigilant people are going to be of the water bowl, but also the water bowl, how often you're filling that water bowl up. It might be, if you're having to fill up that water bowl more than twice, then it probably is a little too hot.
So just to recap a little bit, if they're panting when they don't usually do that, or excessively panting, some of these things you might even say, I don't know. Default to get them inside the air conditioner. So panting, even catching them early, their gums might even be a little brick red, hyper red. Their behavior might, they kind of act a little, they're nervous and agitated. Well, like Noah said, if they're doing a dance, yeah, that's, hot deals. But when you start seeing them getting weak, just laying down, gums bad, that's emergency clinic time. Would you say maybe even pre-existing illness could be a factor in a dog getting hot a little too quickly? Well, certainly a pre-existing heart problem, but even if, they can, vomiting, diarrhea, if they're just kind of a little dehydrated, a little bit just off, they probably can't, in your words, thermoregulate.
Yeah, I would say so. I think the other one, surprising in small breed dogs, is like if they have tracheal issues.
Good point.
some just genetics and congenital diseases like collapsed tracheas. If you already have that pre-existing condition, you're not going to be able to get as much air into your lungs, and then so on and so forth. And so yeah, I think that's a good point. That's another pre-existing condition that most people might not think of, but if your dog has been diagnosed with that, or it has that,
Sure.
they just know that that's something that can already put them at risk.
Your dog cannot be in the heat.
Yeah, your dog.
If you have a Frenchie, your dog cannot be in the heat.
Yeah.
A bulldog, Boston, like you said, even boxer. Your dog is not made for the heat.
No. Or huskies.
What?
Or huskies.
Husky.
Yeah.
Huskies, yeah. Gotcha. So lots of water. Take freaking breaks if you're doing stuff, maybe.
Yeah.
Don't get out in the heat of the day.
What do you even do if you're in Phoenix and it's like 120 degrees?
What do you mean? What do I do?
Just leave, I guess.
No, you just live. You just don't go outside. Also, it's not.
Don't have a husky in Phoenix.
People have huskies in Phoenix, believe it or not.
I know.
I'll leave it at that. But in Arizona, yeah, it's just nobody goes outside in the middle of the summer. Absolutely not. Yeah, if you go to hikes and stuff like that, they have postage and signage. So, but it's just like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, 2-3 months of if you go outside, you'll be turned to ash.
Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Anything else?
I told you one of my favorite memes, right?
The one with the dash with the cooking. No, the mitten one.
Yeah, the oven mitt that's
The
on.
oven- Yeah, but
on the
it's
steering
not
wheel.
even a meme. It's like reality. Like if you try to touch or
Like your middle
the
seat
seatbelt,
belt or something.
that hurts. That hurts.
There's a bunch of people in Arizona with like tattoos.
Probably,
like,
or just branded with that.
like, where are all those marks?
That really does
Seatbelt.
hurt. I will say that does hurt. So it's a meme, but it's reality. It's really hot, but I really did enjoy it though, and I don't know. It's funny enough. Like I think because it's so hot, heat stroke happens. But I feel because everyone knows it's so hot, they take the proper precautions.
Yeah,
for
like
that.
there
Versus
people are aware of it.
Yeah, people are aware. Like it's hot in Arizona. Versus here, I feel like you mentioned, 80 degrees might not seem hot to people, but we're also not covered in fur.
Yeah, that's true. I think the biggest thing people don't realize is just how much more at risk short brachycephalic breeds are. I think that's probably the top.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also the paws, because you can definitely see sometimes dogs are like, dancing on the pavement, and they don't realize like it's because their paws are burning essentially. So
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have seen it much. I've seen it, old guy.
what?
I've seen a lot of pads that were burned off,
Yeah.
where they're just peeling like a major blister. The whole pad falls
The
off.
dog that I have right now, because she just showed up in the middle of the summer, her paw pads were peeling. Once we took her in, her paw pads were peeling. They healed and everything, but they were peeling as well. They get blisters. Yeah, it's living tissue.
Another thing to just remind, because most of our clients, we all know this, but just to kind of reiterate, is never leave your dog in the car in the heat.
Just like children.
Just don't. Just don't.
Don't.
Even with the windows down, that's not enough. Those cars get
super hot and
really
super
hot.
cold. I can attest from that. Yeah, but they get super hot. It's an oven in there for sure. Yeah. I actually didn't have another story. There was this bulldog that we were taking care of from a friend of ours for like a year and a half. The bulldog.
Oh
The
yeah.
bulldog.
I think you. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have it in San Antonio? Oh, okay.
Yeah. And it lived. This one lived. But spoiler alert. But we just went for a walk, like around the block. And it was during sunset-ish, but it was very humid. Even our dog, who has a normal snout, she was kind of having difficulty. So we came back, and he just could not get cold. And he could not get cold, and essentially we brought him inside. He would like lay down on the cold tile because we have tile in our in our house. We don't have carpet. He lay there. We cooled him off, but he had a heat stroke. Yeah, and he like to the point where he was like trembling, having seizures. And we just had to let it pass, and then we took him to the emergency room. They gave him fluids and everything. And he lived, but that was scary. I'm not gonna lie. And this was before I knew anything of what to do. Before I was a vet, and so that's another thing. If your dog is overheating, bring him inside, and if you have tile, put him on like the tile, not a carpet or something like that, something that's cold.
Yeah, they need like a cool space.
Yeah, where they can literally lay down. But he lived, and he did great. But that was scary because he actually started like having seizures and trembling.
Yeah.
As far as our clients kind of knowing when to do what, if you're ever in doubt, and it's after hours, if it's during regular hours, pick the phone and give us a call. If it's after hours, just call the emergency clinic and ask them.
Yeah.
But if they're still in the early stages of heat exhaustion, we might use that term instead of heat stroke. Their gums are bright red and they're just kind of nervous acting. At that point, you can probably still just get them inside, get them cooled off, get a fan on them, get them drinking water. Try to do, put something in the water that they want to drink. Probably not a beer at the time, but as you pointed out, when your dog is getting weak and it's acting drunk almost weak, and those gums are pale, your dog needs IV fluids right now. You got to get it to an emergency clinic.
Yeah.
Oxygen and IV fluids, or your dog may not make it.
Yeah, like Duke. That was his name.
Boxer?
That's my boxer's name, yeah.
That's a good boxer name.
It is, isn't it?
Duke.
Yeah. So,
Solid.
Solid. He was not solid, though.
Also remember you should drink water as well when you're out there. I actually have one story. It doesn't happen very often, but I have one story of I think we were in Fort Worth somewhere at a vaccine clinic, and it wasn't even like, it was like not that hot, but it was pretty humid, and a girl like passed out like under the tent, and
What did you
do? We just sat her, like cut her down, like kind of laid her down, like, and her family was there to help her, and she was only out for like a second, and then she just kind of like fainted, like she wasn't like totally unconscious, but she like fell down, and then, but it was just kind of like she hadn't drank water and she hadn't like eaten, and some people are just prone to that, like if they don't.
Yeah, and we just started, like, summer just started, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, summer solstice?
Yeah, actually it's this weekend.
Yeah, so like, summer's just ramping up right now here in Texas. June, July, all the way up to August. So, it's just gonna get harder. It's gonna get harder.
Yeah. And really, if clients pass out, it just messes up our vibe.
Yeah, if they could not do that, that would be great.
That'd be great. We're just vets.
Yeah, we're if your dog passes, no, okay, but we do have water for that. Like we had water bottles, ice water bottles, which is nice. But and also for the dogs too. Like a lot of times we have the ice water bottles, so we can like pour some water in like one of the styrofoam bowls, and that helps. But make sure you eat and drink water before you go outside.
Okay, so be hypervigilant if you have a brachycephalic breed, which are, name a few.
Boxer, Frenchie, English Bulldog, Shar-Peis, Boston Terriers.
Shar-Peis count? Really? French Bulldogs and
Shih Tzus. They're small, but that's a brachycephalic.
Really?
I think it's.
How did you pronounce that?
Shih Tzu.
Shih Tzu. In South Texas, they pronounce it different, but Shih Tzu.
You guys are picking up on putting down.
Certainly, if you're having at-risk breed, keep it in the car air conditioning as long as possible, and then let us know. And we'll have a flag if you mark that your dog is one of these at-risk breeds. We're on our software. We're going to have a flag that we've got to be careful with your dog. And just saying, if your dog is already having problems, we're not going to vaccinate. We're not going to add the stress of vaccine if your dog is already having problems. You need to. That's not because we're being weird or anything, although some of us are weird, but that's not what's happening there. We're going to be careful with your dog. That is our responsibility at that point, not to do anything that would harm.
Because God forbid, like, something happens, we want to push it even further into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if they're getting their vaccines for the first time and they get a vaccine reaction,
on
an
top
allergic
of-
reaction
on top of everything. Exactly.
We wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
It's going to get hot. It's going to get real hot. 110 in the shade. New summer hours. We are going to move it 1 hour back. We'll start opening up. When are we going to start that, Noah?
It depends on the heat index, but probably July.
Okay. Start opening at 8 o'clock in the morning and closing it down at 3 o'clock. Get started earlier, get done quicker. Certainly after you're under or around our canopies, we're going to have these little misters and things, mainly, for our staff, because we got to be there all day long, but
Really
they'll kind of be on your dogs too.
We have the canopy misters, we have the misting fans. I lobbied for free ice cream cones, but didn't make it.
You lobbied for that? Wow, that's a big improvement. That's an upgrade. I did not have misters when I was.
We didn't have it when I was
Okay, just
there.
making sure. I was like, dang, you guys really upgraded. I was like, I didn't have misters.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank y'all. Low-cost pet vacs. Watch out for the heat because it gets hot.
That's all for now, folks.